Hello again, everyone. It's Mega Champ, and I did kind of warn you all about this. And yes, it is happening, unfortunately. So we interrupt my end of the year stuff with another Full Thoughts video because finally I did finish the current game that I was playing last night, and the image on the screen obviously tells the story and tells you literally what it was, which is, of course, or is and was, of course, the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which I played technically on my PlayStation 5 because you can play PlayStation 4 games on it, but it is a PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch game mostly. Um, it took a really long time for this for the two Great Ace Attorney games to be localized, longer than it probably should have, but I guess it is what it is at the end of the day, and we should just be glad that it got localized at all. And because originally the Great Ace Attorney games were 3DS games, and there was a fan translation of the two games, kind of like there was a fan translation of Ace Attorney Investigations 2, the second Miles Edgeworth game, but eventually there was an official localization. So all that really matters is that it did finally come out, and we should be glad about that, which I am, obviously. Did it take too long? Yes, but as long as it happens eventually, I guess that's really all that matters. As I stumble through my words and try to find the right words to say without, making anyone angry or saying something that may or may not be controversial, as I say that in air quotes. But since I did finish the game, it's time to give my full thoughts, or my own personal full thoughts on this game. So, as per usual and as per normal, opinions are mine and mine alone. Everyone is allowed to have their own opinion at the end of the day. You're allowed to have your opinion, I'm allowed to have my opinion, and everyone is allowed to have their own opinion, but these are just my personal full thoughts on the game and experiences and opinions and feelings and so on and so forth. So, there really isn't a whole lot to talk about without getting too much into spoilers, which I don't like doing because you really should just kind of experience games for yourself at the end of the day if you choose to do so. And that's really all there is to it. But to the best of my ability, I will try to give a general overview of the story of the game, the characters of the game, the world of the game where the game takes place, the graphics, and the gameplay, which we all know I am not a good expert on those last two things, although really you could say I'm not an expert on any of this, so that's something else to keep in mind. But yeah, the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So the story of this game is pretty great. You start out in Japan as well. You don't even start as an attorney. It's kind of similar to the original Ace Attorney trilogy, although you don't really get background on Phoenix Wright until like Trials and Tribulations when Mia Fey first defended him. But for the most part, you kind of start similarly in that manner in which you are accused of murder and then you kind of have to defend yourself. There is a little bit of a difference in that your best friend is the one that's trying to defend you, but then someone tells you to defend yourself and that's what you end up doing. So you start in Japan and then you end up going to Britain. The story is actually really interesting. It does start out a little bit slow, but that's kind of always the case. I mean, that's kind of the case in general for any game, really, and definitely for any Ace Attorney game, but it does kind of start off slow, but it gets increasingly better and better as the cases continue and as the story goes on. Um, and the story kind of also takes place in, and yes, I did look this up so I could get it correct. I don't know what specific time period it says, but Google says Victorian era Japan and Great Britain, with a character that's pretty much de facto Sherlock Holmes, although in this case it's Herlock Sholmes. Ha 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 ha! Nice intellectual property avoiding there. It's this guy, by the way. Um, I mean, I guess you gotta do what you gotta do to make sure you don't have any issues, so that's kind of what they did. Um, but, you know, whatever works, I suppose. And this is the Phoenix Wright of the game, with your assistant of the game, which is named. So I'm gonna absolutely butcher these names, but it's Ryunosuke Naruhodo and Susato Mikotoba. There's also Kazuma Asogi, Baroque Von Zeeks, Herlock Sholmes, Iris. Just a lot of characters, basically, and all these other characters that I'm not going to introduce to you. This is the prosecutor of the game that, or the main prosecutor at least, when the characters go to Britain. And despite what other Ace Attorney games do, the prosecutor of the game is actually the same for both games, the first game and the second game. Whereas in most Ace Attorney games, it'll change for each game, so that's kind of good and interesting. And there's actually a lot of similarities with the prosecutor and stuff with other Ace Attorney games, who ends up potentially may or may not end up getting accused of murder themselves. So it's actually it does start off slow, but it gets better and better. And unlike most Ace Attorney games, in fact, this is literally the first Ace Attorney game that does this. Well, unless you count that final case in the first Apollo Justice game, and that's the fact that this Ace Attorney game introduced juries, the jury system. It's not like a true jury system because it's only like 5 to 6 if I recall correctly. It might be 5 because I think it's supposed to be uneven, because if it was 6 then it could be a literal tie, but the point is that 5 to 6 is that it's not a true jury system, because obviously if you know the legal system, a jury is more than 5, or at least it is in the United States, but I don't know how it is in other countries, but it's definitely a lot more than 5 to 6. But yeah, they actually introduced the jury system, which is kind of unique and interesting. So yeah, that's basically the story of the game and other stuff. I'll try to talk more about that stuff in the gameplay, because some of this stuff I'm kind of talking about is the gameplay, but what I will also say about the story of the game is that in the second game, basically in the final 3 cases of the game, it's actually really goddamn good, and I'm not even joking here. The final 3 cases of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, in other words, the final 3 cases of Great Ace Attorney 2, are probably the best back-to-back-to-back cases I've probably seen in the entire Great Ace Attorney, or in the entire Ace Attorney franchise. So, yeah, really great. And a lot of the cases are also connected to each other throughout the entire games, including the first game, which is the first time I've seen that since the original Ace Attorney trilogy, with the first game and then Justice for All and Trials and Tribulations. So, yeah, really great. I really love it when they do that, and it's just really great, honestly. So the characters of the game, I kind of already talked about a few of them. Ryunosuke Naruhodo is the defense attorney. Susato Mikotoba is the judicial assistant, or basically your assistant. Kazuma Asogi is your best friend. Of course, Herlock Sholmes and Iris and Baroque Von Zeeks is the main prosecutor. The characters are actually really good, and honestly, Herlock Sholmes is probably the funniest character I've ever seen in the entire Ace Attorney franchise. The antics this guy does and his deductions are just unbelievably hilarious and funny and great, and just a great time overall. And the thing that you do with that specific gameplay mechanic is actually really fun and really great. So it's just great fun all around, and the funniest character I've probably seen in the entire franchise, if you count Gumshoe, I guess. But I guess he's funny, but he does some pretty unbelievable stuff too at times. So he's not the Gumshoe of this game, but he's definitely the funniest character I've seen potentially ever. So some pretty great characters overall, and stuff like that. Great twists and turns, and shock reveals and villain reveals. And although I kind of had my suspicions of who the true villain is pretty quickly, although I didn't truly suspect things until like the second game, though I had my inklings of suspicion in the first game because I've played all other Ace Attorney games. So when you play the games enough, then yeah, you're gonna figure things out pretty quickly. When it comes to like character development, I think they do a really great job for character development for pretty much all of the characters in this game, for Ryunosuke and Sesito and Kazuma and Herlock Sholmes and Iris and Baroque von Zeeks, and literally all of them. All of the characters are pretty great, and they do a massively good job for character development for all of the characters in the cases and the stuff that happens, and background information, and a shock reveal that I'm not going to reveal about Kazuma when something you think happens, but then it turns out that's not the case. And it's just probably really great character development overall, which is surprising, honestly, considering they only had 2 games to do it. But they did a really great job with the character development in the 2 games. So great job with the character development as well. Great characters, lots of funny moments and great moments and sad moments and all those kinds of emotions you want to claim, I suppose. And Herlock Sholmes kind of cuts the tension with his humor at times, which is definitely needed. So just great characters overall, and great character development overall. You would think they would rush it, and maybe you can make the argument that the character development is a little rushed because it's only 2 games as opposed to 3, but I honestly felt like they did a great job with the character developments, with the time that they were allotted and the games that they had. In each game, Great Ace Attorney 1 and Great Ace Attorney 2 has 5 cases, so that gives them 10 cases overall to do character development, and I personally felt like they did a really good job, and especially with Ryunosuke in the first 3 cases of the game, really developed his character really well very quickly, and then it developed it even better as in the second game in the final 3 cases, as I mentioned. So I think the characters are great. They're all good in their own way, and they developed them really well with the time that they were allotted. So the world of the game, as I kind of previously mentioned, is Victorian era Japan and Britain, before all of the technological advancements that's in the other Ace Attorney games, fingerprints, blood analysis, all the science stuff, basically. So all the science stuff that Emma is obsessed with in the Apollo Justice game is not here, obviously, in Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. It does kind of show the beginning of it with blood analysis and fingerprint stuff, but it's not actually used in the cases as opposed to literally all of the other Ace Attorney games. So the way they do the cases and how they solve them is definitely unique and still Ace Attorney-like. So it does work out very well and is very unique, and kind of shows you a fictionalized way, I guess, is the best way I can put it, of how crimes may or may not have been solved in the before all the blood analysis and the fingerprints and all the science stuff. So just before all of that science stuff in the beginning of the science industrial revolution, if that's what you want to call it, before the blood analysis and the fingerprints and all that, and all the new methods of crime investigation, basically. So gives a good showing of that, and despite the fact that the jury system isn't in the other Ace Attorney games, it does give a pretty good showing of that. Not much else to say about the world. Baker Street and Britain stuff, and Sherlock Holmes, Sherlock Holmes like stuff. So it does a pretty good job of that, and Wilson, that character, although it's Watson for Sherlock Holmes, but that's basically the Watson of the game. But I think the world was very interesting and very unique at times. You don't see Japan very much and for very long. You only see it in the first case of Great Ace Attorney 1 and the first case of Great Ace Attorney 2, but it's mostly about Britain, which it would have been interesting to see more of Japan, but it is more about Sherlock Holmes, I guess, but I felt it was fine for what they showed, so I don't know. I personally felt like the world of the game was fine. Graphics of the game, not much to really say here. I don't know how the game looked on the 3DS, but in terms of how it looked when I played it, probably the best looking Ace Attorney game since, they had a lot of time to improve it since the last actual game was the Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice games, which are being put out again. But I thought it looked really well. It looked really great. Maybe even the best looking Ace Attorney game with anime cutscenes. We all know I love my anime cutscenes. So I think the graphics worked effectively for this game and fit the style of the game, and was probably the best looking graphics of the game. It wasn't like full 3D like the other Ace Attorney games, but it accomplished what it was meant to accomplish, and that's really all that matters. So it fit the franchise, it fit the setting, it fit what it was trying to do. The graphics fit, that's about the point of it. Not much else to say about the graphics. If you ask me, at least, it was probably the best looking Ace Attorney games, but that's just me. The gameplay of the game is basically Ace Attorney. What were you expecting? You press witnesses to make them add stuff. You present evidence to show the contradictions, and so on and so forth. There is some new stuff in this game. There is something called pursuing, which is kind of similar to something from the Phoenix Wright versus Professor Layton game, where you'll ask a witness or what they think of something another witness says, because they have their own thoughts about them or remember things differently or stuff like that. And then the stuff with Sherlock Holmes and his deductions, quote unquote, where you have to fix them and correct them because his deductions are unbelievably wrong. Like I said, humor. Although in that instance, you actually do fully use the 3D stuff, so at least they use it in that sense where you have to view the entire scene in 3D to kind of show what the actual correct deduction is. But there was some new stuff and some unique stuff. I really liked the Sherlock Holmes deduction stuff. The music there is really good. It was really fun, and the pursuing is obviously something I have seen before if you have played Phoenix Wright versus Professor Layton, and it gave me deja vu of that. So the gameplay was fun. It's just like any other Ace Attorney game where you investigate the crime scene and talk with witnesses and so on and so forth, and go to the trial and do, like I said before, with pressing their testimony and objecting when you objection when you find the contradictions and stuff like that. So yeah, gameplay is Ace Attorney. Don't really know what else to say about it, with some new stuff and some unique stuff, and it's Ace Attorney. Don't know what else to say about the gameplay, with some new stuff that wasn't in any of the other Ace Attorney games, which kind of fit, because if you really think about it, in the Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright game, that was kind of old style, or too, so it kind of fit with the pursuing, because that was old style and this was old style, so it kind of fit in that sense. So I'm glad they took that system and applied it here. It was at least different and unique, because in this game there are times when there's more than one witness on the stand, which, yeah, that totally happens in real court, but it's fictionalized, so obviously things are exaggerated, but 2 to 3 witnesses, sometimes 4, and so it did make sense in that respect. But I love the Ace Attorney gameplay. I always have. The new thing with the Herlock Sholmes was actually really fun. The most fun I've had in with a new unique thing, or a new mechanic, if you want to call it that, in the Ace Attorney franchise, maybe even ever, or definitely the most fun I've had in it in a really long time. So just really good, really great gameplay, and just great overall. Not much else to really say in that regard. Just not much for me to say in general. I'm not the perfect expert here, and there's not really much for me to say, because I really enjoyed my time with the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and it was probably the best Ace Attorney game I've played since Spirit of Justice, although that might be biased, because Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney, and then Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies, and then Spirit of Justice is obviously being re-released as Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy, so it's probably a little biased on my end, because I really like Apollo Justice, but that's just me. I don't know why some people hate him. Makes no sense to me, but I really loved Apollo Justice, so that might be a little biased on my end to say that it's the best game I've played since Spirit of Justice. But from what I have seen online, is that people have said that this, the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, or Great Ace Attorney 1 and 2, might even be the best Ace Attorney games ever. And I can definitely see why, because there's a lot of cases that are connected together throughout the games, which is the first since the original trilogy. And it's just a lot of fun, and a lot of shock reveals and great moments and twists and turns, and just really great overall. I can't praise this game more. I really can't. Although I am an Ace Attorney fan, so you could make that biased argument if you want, but I can definitely see why people say that this is the best Ace Attorney game ever, really. Or at least the best Ace Attorney game in a really long time. I can definitely see that, and I definitely understand it. And honestly, I definitely feel that way myself in a lot of ways, in a lot of respects. Definitely the best Ace Attorney game I've played since Spirit of Justice. But again, I'm biased because I like Apollo, so yeah, not much else to really say. When I have a lot of good things to say, then these things don't tend to be very long. Sorry. I mean, I'm trying to think of something negative to say, and I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of something, but nothing is really coming to mind. I mean, some of the cases can be a little bit of a drag and a little bit of a grind, I guess, with not much going on, but I don't know. There's nothing I can really say negative about it, except I wish it had come out sooner and been localized sooner. But at least Capcom have realized the error in their ways, hopefully, and hopefully it'll stay that way. Not really much else I can say in terms of negative about this game. I just liked everything. I'm sorry, I just did. I mean, it might be a little biased on my end because I am an Ace Attorney fan, but we all have our biases. I just can't really think of anything negative, so that's all I got for you. Sorry. Not much else to really say about this game, so story of the game is great. Characters of the game are great and really great character development despite the amount of time that they had with the two games. World of the game is great, and seeing Sherlock Holmes stuff, and the funniest character maybe even in the entire franchise with his antics. It will genuinely make you laugh, because it did for me. Well, that's what I think at least. So the world of the game is great. And fits, I suppose. I mean, it's definitely interesting to see, like, a different take on the legal system, the Britain legal system, and with the jury system and that stuff. So I really liked seeing the world for what it was. So yeah. Graphics of the gameplay were good for what they were meant to achieve. Maybe even the best of the entire Ace Attorney franchise. I mean, it's a visual novel. With a visual novel and point and click type of stuff, you're not going to get 4K, I'm sorry. You're not going to get Biomutants, but even those graphics couldn't save that game, so it fit for what it was trying to accomplish. That's really all that matters for the graphics. And the gameplay was great with some new stuff and some unique stuff that I really liked and had a lot of fun doing. So, just great overall. And I did get the platinum for this game. So, 2 Ace Attorney trilogies or game collections, whatever you want to call it. 2 platinums. Hopefully that will happen again for the Apollo Justice trilogy. I can't guarantee that because who knows, but hopefully I'll get it. But yeah, great stuff overall. Great overall. Can't really say anything else. Here is the Metacritic of the game. Not a lot of negativity, mostly. I mean, if you scroll enough, you'll find negativity, but whatever. But generally, overall, yeah, people loved it. I would say this is what I would give the game. Yeah, I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. Maybe even a 9 out of 10. Yeah, actually, I would say my score is a 9 out of 10 because the game was just overall great. Like I said, a lot of the cases were connected together because I haven't seen that since the initial Ace Attorney trilogy. It was just really good, and once that ride started with Case 3 of Great Ace Attorney 2, it did not stop. It really didn't. I was a little worried that after that really great Case 3 of Great Ace Attorney 2, it would kind of maybe be up and down. No, the ride did not stop. It kept going and kept going and kept going and was really freaking great. So, yeah, I would say my score is a 9 out of 10. Maybe a little biased because I'm an Ace Attorney fan, but definitely the best Ace Attorney game I have seen and played since Apollo Justice or Phoenix Wright, Spirit of Justice, sorry. But it is a part of the Apollo Justice Ace Attorney trilogy, so can you blame me for calling it that? Maybe a little biased because I like Apollo Justice, but yeah, the best Ace Attorney game I've played since then, maybe the best Ace Attorney game ever. I mean, it's all subjective and opinionated at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, but it really was unbelievably great. I can't say anything but that, or I can't praise it more. It's just really good. So, yeah, I definitely recommend this game, but it's up to you at the end of the day. I know visual novels are not great. Like I said, they're not 4K, and it's not Biomutant graphics, but I still enjoy visual novels from time to time with Ace Attorney. The Danganronpa series seems to be officially dead. Rip. Um, but if Rain Code comes to PlayStation, that's kind of visual novel like and Danganronpa like. So, but yeah, one of the better visual novels in my opinion. But you know, it is what it is. Everyone's opinion is gonna be different, but maybe a little biased. But yeah, I really loved this game. Can't say anything else about it. Can't praise it more. I do kind of wish there was something negative I could say, but I'm sorry, I just can't think of anything. I just loved all of it. I really did. So, humorous at times, breaks the tension, but serious when it needs to be. I don't know what else to tell you. Sorry. So, yeah. Just me, though. Just me. So that's all I got for you. Just a great game overall. I mean, this is not really going to have any effect on my final overall personal game of the year list. Sorry, it's just not. But because I played too many other games that I enjoyed too much and had too much fun playing, so rip. But it was great. I really enjoyed it and can't say anything else. So yeah. So I need to talk about a couple of things here. So technically my next game is a port. Sonic Colors Ultimate. It's basically a port, an upgraded quote-unquote version of Sonic Colors, but it's basically a port. And I still can't stream right now, unfortunately. So no stream for this game. And because it's literally just a port, or an upgraded port, I probably am. No, not probably. I'm not going to do a full thoughts video for this because, first of all, it's way too short, and there's really no point because it's just a port of a game that I've technically already played. So I won't be putting out full thoughts videos, a full thoughts video for Sonic Colors Ultimate. It's too short anyway, and it's just an upgraded port. So no full thoughts video for this, no stream for this, and no stream for the next game that I'm playing after that, which is Life is Strange True Colors. Mostly because of the DMCA threat and worry, but also because I didn't stream any of the other Life is Strange games, so there's no reason to stream this one. It's also kind of a short game. So no stream for this one either. However, for this game, I can try to do a full thoughts video for it. I'm probably not going to have a lot to say, kind of like I didn't have a lot to say for Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, but I'll do the best I can. It's just my personal thoughts, feelings, and opinions at the end of the day. So I'll try to do a full thoughts video for this. I'll be doing the PlayStation 5 version. I don't know if there is a PlayStation 4 version now that I'm thinking of it. But that's the version that I own, so it'll be for the PlayStation 5 version. The good thing about this game is that all of the episodes are out on one disc. That's probably how they should do Life is Strange from now on, if they choose to continue it. It seems like Life is Strange might be dead for good too, maybe. Rip. But if they do choose to continue to do more Life is Strange games, it's probably how they should do it. So this game will probably be my next full thoughts game. As far as my next stream, I'll let you know when I can do it. Hopefully, eventually at some point. But yeah, those are my next games. Some Colors games. Sonic Colors Ultimate and Life is Strange True Colors. So yeah, some short games though. Or relatively short games for the most part, but considering how long I seem to take with games, it'll probably take me twice as long. Well, maybe not so much with Sonic, because I literally don't care when it comes to score, but we'll see. But, yeah, that's all I got for you. Yeah, great game. I really do recommend this game, but I also recommend you play the other Ace Attorney games, but it's up to you at the end of the day. It's a lot of games now because there's the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy, there's this, and now there is the Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy coming out in January, next month. It is a lot of games, it's up to you at the end of the day, but I like the Ace Attorney franchise. They're great games. They're extremely underrated and underestimated and underappreciated in a sense, but just me, and I'm biased, I suppose, but I loved this game. I can't praise it more. I do strongly recommend it, but again, it's up to you. And I really did try to think of something negative, and I couldn't come up with anything. Sorry. Just really love the Ace Attorney franchise. Sometimes the investigations can drag on for way too long, but you just have to try to slog your way through it. But luckily that didn't seem to happen in this game, so yeah, I can't really think of anything negative. So yeah, that's all I got for you, and we'll continue with my end of the year stuff next time, where I reveal my personal anime of the year. So until then, this is MegaChamp saying next time I'll be providing you with more unlimited guidance. Objection! I had to, I'm sorry, and that was really bad. I'm an idiot. Anyway, bye.